What's up, guys? Let's take a look at another CodeWars exercise. This one's called the hashtag generator. We're going to get a phrase or a sentence and turn it into a hashtag that might be posted on Twitter or Instagram. A McDonald's ad might say, "I'm loving it," with the hashtag capital I, capital L, capital I, and no spaces in between. So the criteria are, you got to have a hashtag, great. First letter of each word capitalized, which they might give us some like that. They might give us some all lower, but they might also give us some all upper, which means we have to uncapitalize the non-first letters. If the whole thing is longer than 140, we can't do it because classically the Twitter limit was 140, and I think other networks as well. And then if we get nothing, we just say false. So let's handle that first because it seems pretty easy. We can say if not S, and S is our parameter here, return false. If I hit test, we'll probably pass one, right? Hey, look at that. We passed one test. So we could imagine, what if the text is fine? What if they give us a word and it's already capitalized? Let's try to return hash plus S, because I bet we'll pass another test, or maybe multiple. Hey, look at that. It was 1, now it's 2. It's really nice to do things like this and just build up little bits at a time instead of writing a whole function and not knowing if any of it is on the right track. So now, obviously, we have to do the steps with the content, with the algorithm, with the thought. And like I said, we definitely want to remove the spaces after we do the capitalizing, because you might not know what the word is after you remove the spaces. So let's say, what can we do to capitalize? I might make a function. I could make a little function and say, like, okay, cap, and it takes a word, and we're going to return the first one, upper, plus the rest, lower. And that would work if I try that. You know, let's print cap of hello, and then let's do an all lower to test out both. We're going to get both of them turned into the right kind of thing. However, I don't have to make this myself. There's already a Python string method that does this. In fact, there's something even better. So if you say string.capitalize, that'll do it. Like if I say hello dot capitalize, I think that'll do what we want, which just capitalizes the first letter and uncaps the rest. But guess what? Python sometimes goes way easy on us. They spoil us. They have something even nicer, which is a method called title. And on a single word, title's going to do the same thing. But if it had multiple, it's going to do all of them. Okay? It's going to wonderfully capitalize the first letter of each one, lower the rest. Amazing. I don't have to make a function. I don't have to stretch it out over a list. I just call the title. And of course, it's nice to write that kind of thing once so you know what's going on. But now I'm going to get rid of it. So if we say s.title, that's going to give us quite a bit of improvement here. Oh, I deleted the cap, so I can't call that anymore. S.title is moving us in the right direction. And then we can say, I want to remove the spaces. We've talked about some ways to do that with split. If you split, it takes out all the spaces because it just grabs everything else, and it gives us a list of words. So we could say split, and then we have to join it back, which is a little annoying. But that would do what we want. This is what we're looking for. So I could put that in there, have a lot of success. This is passing most of it. However, I think there's something even simpler, which is instead of calling two different methods, I can just do one, which is replace. If I replace all the spaces with nothing, then I'm just as good. Not having to turn it into a list and then back into a string. So that's kind of nice. I'm going to stick with this, but the split join is fine as well. And probably other approaches are fine as well. Now we're still failing one, which is the length. If the length is too big, then it can't fit in a tweet, or it can't fit in an old tweet. It can now because they're double the length. Now we have to check that after we do it. We can't check S. So this guy, we can give it a name. We can say something like, hashtag equals, and then we can return hashtag if len of hashtag is less than 141. Otherwise, we return false. I think that'll do the job. Even on the big test with all of them, that'll do it. We can definitely write this other ways. You could even combine that in here. So we could be like, if S and, I think that would still work. But it looks a little weird to have this line with multiple things. I guess parentheses could help. But it's fine to do it the way I had. In fact, it's probably a little clearer to make that one special case separate at the beginning. However, I do like having a single return. So there's pros and cons either way. Let's see what other people have done in their solutions. This first one uses capitalize and split. So you capitalize each word. That's great, but they probably just didn't know about title. I gotta admit, title is like too good to be true. I'm really surprised it exists because it's almost like doing the work for us. So I'm not surprised that some people haven't heard of it. There's no need to do this when you can just say string.title. This one uses very similar to what we did, but if you notice, there's no if. Ours says if, and theirs does not, which is kind of clever, which is why I gave them this upvote last time I was on the page yesterday. What they're doing is using and and or to give us the answer. So in Python, when you say something and something, it won't give you true or false. It'll give you one of those guys. Like I think with and, it gives you the second one if they're both true. If you say or, it gives you the first one if that's true, and it gives you the second one if the first one wasn't, which is a little confusing, a little weird. Most of the time we don't rely on it, and I don't think that line is particularly clear, but it's kind of clever. So what they're doing is saying this thing, if all that's true, or false. And what this thing resolves to is this. So it like gives you the answer if all that stuff is true, and if anything along the way is not, then it gives us false, which is very hard to read. Maybe parentheses would help, but most people would expect an if in there to make it more clear, or even something else like a dictionary. This next one, they even put the title in, or the strip in there, which probably isn't necessary, but you never know. It's a good habit. And if we scroll down, we'll see a lot of variety in the little things. Like we'll see strip, title, capitalized, but they're all doing the same general process. And we'll see some check for the length. By the way, some of them do it wrong and they check for the length before hashifying it, and apparently it still works. So the tests are not really ruthless in checking for that. But we know in our hearts that we did it right. This one's kind of cute because it's checking like up to the length instead of checking it afterwards. Nice little variety. If you see one of these that makes sense to you, or if you see one of these that is especially ugly and you want to avoid, that can help in the future when you're doing similar ones. And there are a lot of similar ones, because this is just like the credit card thing, this is just like the Pascal case thing that we've seen recently. The whole goal of this practice is for you to have a repertoire in the future. When you see a problem, you go, oh yeah, this reminds me of something I've done, this reminds me of something I've done, and then you can reuse your own ideas, or you can reuse the ideas that you see on these solution screens. There you go.